Welcome to Monday Night Live, coming to you as usual from the studios of the Public Media Centre, where every voice matters. I keep saying that week after week, every voice matters. If you haven't been around this centre, which is newly equipped, modernised, state-of-the-art equipment, you should pay a visit sometime. If you have never thought about taking a class in video production, or making a video, or having a live program like this, you should stop in sometime and talk to the staff and see the facilities. Most important, of course, every Monday night at 7, or in the repeats, you should tune in because we always have interesting folk at the other side of the table. 10 years, and I just have been privileged to talk to so many important people, interesting people, people who care about the community. And tonight is no exception. We're going to be talking about Fontana Chamber Arts. David Baldwin will be with us, and I'll introduce him very shortly. But I always have to put one thought on the table before we launch into a discussion. And this, of course, dates me and the grey hair, but way back in England, Britain, we had the BBC, the British Broadcasting Corporation. I think it started about 1934, and the first Director General was Lord Reith. Lord Reith was very superior. He insisted that all his announcers on radio wore dinner jackets when they read the evening news or the midnight news, which is when, of course, it closed down. He ruled the roost in the BBC. And famously, he said, when the BBC was launched, the British people do not like classical music, but they will. And he insisted that there was plenty of classical music on BBC. During World War II, we also had all kinds of light music. Workers' Playtime was broadcast in the morning for half an hour and in the afternoon for half an hour. Music played loud in factories, so armament factories, people working at the bench could hear this jazzy music to take their minds off the serious business of war. So the BBC diversified and wasn't too toffee-nosed, but Lord Reith started it all off. Classical music. There are a lot of people still who think classical music isn't quite for them. You can't hum a tune when you leave the theatre and so on. And several organisations in town, but one in particular, Chamber Arts, we're thankful that they are bringing good music, great musicians to town week after week, year-round, and are having remarkable success in getting to young people as well as we older folk. So, Bill, let's have a broad shot. Looking good.
Thank you.
David Baldwin, Executive and Artistic Director of Fontana Chamber Arts. And that's your website, fontanachamberarts.org.
Correct.
We'll take people to a website.
Yes.
So if I'm not coherent and people don't understand me,
Right.
they can check it all out on the website,
It's all there.
fontanachamberarts.org. Or they could call you, 269-382-774.
Right.
Or they can stay tuned tonight,
Right.
or come back on Thursday and the other repeats and see it all again, because we have a lot to talk about. But we have to talk about you and your success. And I'm not trying to embarrass you, just that you've done some remarkable things. You've now been director for
2 years.
2 years.
Yes.
So the first year you inherited
The program.
programs that had been planned some time before, because you have to start
About 2 years in advance.
2
yeah.
years in advance
Yeah.
to book the right people at the right time and get all the contracts signed and all that.
Right.
So you inherited a program, but then how many programs have been yours
Last season,
last season?
so what you call the winter season or the subscription season was my first full programming season.
The winter season is what we talked about when you were here a couple
In
of months
March.
ago, in
Yeah,
March.
Yeah.
That's why I get confused.
Yes, it's all terribly
We're now
confusing,
talking
yeah.
about all kinds of fun things that are going to be happening
In the summer.
on
Right.
in the summer.
Right,
But
right,
we've already talked about the winter season.
right.
But we'll maybe broadcast it again sometime in the winter. That wouldn't be a bad idea, would it?
Sure.
To run a rerun of that
Maybe in
program.
September or something,
In
or at the beginning
September.
of the season, yeah.
Bill Lindemann, who's sitting out there directing as usual, thank goodness,
All right.
can make a note. September, we should think about repeating that last program.
Right.
And maybe I will not be as confused next year because I hope you'll come back repeatedly.
Of course.
Tell me about ticket sales. Tell me about sales. Tell me.
It was all really positive this season. So this 14-15 season, which we've just completed, our ticket sales were up by 169% over the year before, which is amazing. You know, I'm very, very pleased with that. So obviously the community is responding, you know, in some ways. And that's true of even our, we have our season program book that we sell ads for. And so these are businesses within the community that buy ads that want to support us and want to advertise in our publications. And they were up by 100% as well in 14-15. So it's a good trajectory. You know, I'm very pleased with the initial results.
Yes, yes. And that's a pretty good marker. If people are paying to advertise in your programs,
Then there's
they're not
interest
doing
in, no,
it for the love of it.
not necessarily, no.
Not entirely, anyway.
Right.
No, yeah, they do want to support
Sure.
Fontana Chamber Arts.
Right.
But they also have to make money.
They
and
have a
they've
business to
decided
run.
that
Sure.
it's a good crowd.
Right,
People who go to your programs read the program,
right.
and there's usually some time beforehand. I don't think when it comes to ice cream, which we can talk about later,
Sure.
they're reading the program, but
Right.
as you wait for the curtain to go up, as it were, plenty of time to look at the notes, but also the ads.
Right.
So that's another indication of the success.
Yes, and I'm really pleased with that. It's
Yes.
going well.
So kudos.
Thank you.
Kudos. How much, oh, you're going to say not much because you're modest. That success, that growing audience number,
Right,
ticket sales in advance,
right.
helps fund the whole thing.
Sure.
How much of that is due to your diversification? Less highbrow, some highbrow, but all kinds of music. It's not just old people playing violas and
Right.
cellos.
Right.
How much of that success is the broadening of the offerings, and how much of it, this is where you're not going to nod your head, how much of it is because of your long experience? You should tell us a bit about that long experience. You were in London,
Okay.
you were
New York.
part of a major booking agency,
Yeah.
worldwide booking agency.
Right.
You had to get good acts to put into great venues,
Right.
and you worked at it. You knew the grind of finding the right people and getting the right contracts.
Sure. Do you know, I guess it's a multifaceted thing, one of which...
That's a clever reply.
Yeah, one of
Multifaceted,
which
yes.
is...
It's not me, it's multifaceted.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
The programming, you know, people are responding to the programming because I felt that maybe we had gone a little bit too avant-garde for a little while, and so I've kind of reined that in a bit without pandering in any way, shape, or form. It's still high-quality music, but it doesn't necessarily always have to be highbrow. It has to be high
I
quality.
like that. Yes, high quality, but not necessarily highbrow.
Right. And it can be highbrow, that's fine too, but
Well,
it's-
that's mingled in, I'm sure.
it is.
You put some challenging things in from time
Sure.
to time.
Yeah. And then I think the other thing is, you know, having worked as an artist manager for so many years, and I know the artists, and personally, a lot of them, and those that I don't know, I know the marketplace well enough to know just how well I can do in terms of bringing them in at a fee that we can afford, that makes sense for this community or for the size of the venues that we have. And so it's a big mix, actually.
You know the business.
Right.
And you're a musician yourself.
I am.
So you know the music side.
Sure. Yeah.
Tell us a bit about your training.
I'm a pianist by training. I mean, I first started when I was a tiny little kid at 5 or whatever, just playing by ear. And then ultimately, I had lessons, and I went to the Juilliard Pre-College, and then ultimately the Curtis Institute of Music in Philadelphia.
That sounds like Itzhak Perlman's path somehow.
Itzhak, I think, was all Juilliard.
Was it all Juilliard?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think Itzhak ever went to Curtis, but there were plenty of people like Leonard Bernstein and
Yes.
Long Long and
Yes,
Sarah
yes,
Chang
yes,
and
yes.
so many, Hilary Hahn, that went through Curtis.
Some couple of years ago, I did some reading about two music academies, I think in Berlin,
Yes,
two quite famous.
Right.
But one higher standard than the other. People accepted that the really good people get to
the
that one,
Hauptschule, yeah.
and the very good people get to that one.
Sure.
And they'd done it, broken it down in terms of hours of practice. The people who got into the better one had, before they applied, something like 690,000 hours of practice.
Sure.
And the other people had only done 600 hours.
Right.
600,000 hours of practice.
Right,
It was
right.
a stupendous amount of practice.
Mm.
It's not for the faint-hearted, a musical career.
No, and I don't think that, with, at least on the conservatory level, that talent in and of itself is ever enough. I mean, it's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of hard work. So you can be the most talented person in the world, but if you're not willing to put in those kind of hours, that's not going to happen, because there are so many people who may be technically less talented than you that will put in the work, and they'll wipe you out,
Yeah.
And I'm sure now, I mean, it's even so much more competitive than when I was in school 20 years ago, because it's just been opened up internationally, and so you have all these people from the Far East and all over the world, competing for these positions, very limited positions
Yes,
at
yes.
these great conservatories that.
Well, Stelberg is an example of that.
Sure.
I mean, people from all over the world send in tapes,
Right.
excuse me,
Yep.
to be judged on their tape,
Yep.
all over the place.
We had Sarah Chang in town, who also, she was with the
One of the
symphony, but then
judges
she
is-
also
yes.
was a judge there,
And played.
and worked with them as in a masterclass setting, and she was shocked and amazed at just what a high level the Stolberg attracted. She had no idea, and she was really blown over
Yes.
and impressed.
Yes, yes. It's come a long way. It's
Yeah.
survived. I mean, everybody thinks it's a very wealthy family, the Stolberg family.
Right.
And the truth is, it was a straightforward working family with a professor who didn't get paid millions every year,
Of course.
who started it all. And it's still not a-
Thriving. It's thriving.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
Puts Kalamazoo on the map. It really does.
It's one of the things.
One of the things that put,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, the other one, of course, is chamber arts.
Well, there's that too, yeah.
Okay, enough from me. Maybe I've been chatting, but we do need to get across to people.
Right,
This thing doesn't just happen.
right.
It takes skill, it takes a team, it takes somebody who knows the business and can think 2 years ahead and knows what people want to hear as well as what they should hear.
Right.
No more Lord Reith.
I was going to say there's a bit
It's
of that
now
Lord
David
Reith in there,
Baldwin. Okay, now you brought in some video clips that Bill has out there.
Yeah, so this is our summer festival, which runs from July 11 through 25.
Very soon it starts.
Yes, and this is a very long tradition of Fontana that we've been doing back since the days of Shelbyville. I'm sure that you remember them.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Without air conditioning.
Right, right. And our very first concert is Saturday, July 11th at 7:30. And this is taking place at the Kalamazoo Nature Center barn, which people may not be familiar with. I wasn't. Of course, everyone knows the Nature Center, but there's this barn on the property that they redid fairly recently, I think a couple of years ago, which now serves as an educational facility. But it's a perfect place for the type of thing that we're opening up with. It's a fun concert. It's intended to be light and just fun. It's called the Sleepy Man Banjo Boys. Now, this is a group that are 3 kids, 11, 16, and 17. The 11-year-old is the banjo player, and their name comes from the fact that when Johnny, his name is, the 11-year-old, first started playing the banjo, it was too heavy for him, so he often would lay down on the floor in order to be able to practice for extended periods of time. They're amazingly talented. They have over 30 million views on YouTube. They've been on the David Letterman show. They've been on Jimmy Kimmel Live. They've performed at Carnegie Hall. They're a big deal, and it's just a lot of fun. It's all bluegrass.
What did they ask?
And Americana roots.
The back lady who was asked by somebody in New York, how did you get to Carnegie Hall? And she said, practice, practice, practice.
Yes, well, they've apparently been doing quite a bit of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they're not. So what we should be saying to people is bring your kids to this.
Definitely.
Don't come and marvel at the younger generation.
Sure.
But bring your own kids.
To inspire them,
To inspire
they see
them.
someone their age performing at such a high level, it may inspire them to play as well.
And this must be the youngest act you've ever had.
It's got to be.
I
up
think
there.
it should be. Next. Well,
I think we have a video clip of them if you want to hear a bit of that.
wave at Bill and he'll
Okay.
push the button. There they are.
Yeah.
Here they are. Please welcome the Sleepy Man Banjo Boys.
That's pretty amazing.
He was only 9 in that particular clip. So.
But no, what we said before, parents should bring
Kids.
the youngsters here
Definitely.
to it. The parents enjoy it, the kids will be amazed and
Absolutely.
maybe sparked. We should maybe have some signage out of the nature centre because most of the older folk are used to going to highbrow stuff in the auditorium there.
Right. Yeah, they're definitely.
They've
will
got
be
to
good
find the
signage
barn
there.
somehow, or they'll all be in the wrong place where there will be no ice cream.
Right. Or performers.
But there will be an interval,
Yes.
and there will be ice cream.
Yes.
And
As well as Bell's Beer will.
Bell's
have
Beer
it,
as
but,
well, so-
yeah, it's just intended to be more of a festive kind of opening.
yes, a
Yeah.
great time. Fantastic. Well, we're going to have to, lots going on, so we'll move along.
Okay.
The next one, that was Saturday, July the 11th, at the Nature Centre barn. Tuesday, July 14th, so that's just 3 days later.
Yes.
7:30. Aeolus Quartet.
Yes. So this is a young quartet that's currently in residence at the Juilliard School. They formed at the Cleveland Institute about 6 years ago. They're young and they're terrific. I first learned of them. I was asked to be an adjudicator for the Chamber Music America's New York conference where they do these showcases and that kind of thing. And so we were doing these blind auditions where you'd have to first listen to the tapes of, 50, 60 different performers. And they were one of the first quartets that I heard, and I thought, oh my gosh, if it's going to be on this level, how am I going to be able to judge,
Yeah.
But they were really head and shoulders above many of the other quartets that I heard, and they were terrific. So I'm very pleased to have them here in Kalamazoo.
Yes.
They'll be doing a program of Haydn, Schulhoff, and Beethoven.
Not too way out.
No,
No,
not at all.
people that, young people as
Yeah.
well as older people, can maybe not sing along to.
No. Well, certainly the Haydn and Beethoven is very accessible, and the Schulhoff is not something that's even particularly challenging or anything. It's good music. It's good stuff.
Yes, and we do need to be stretched a little bit.
Yes.
There's something in the middle which is maybe...
You don't want all meat and potatoes.
No, you got to have some Lord Reith stuff tucked
Right.
away somewhere. Okay.
That's
that
Tuesday,
was-
July 14th at 7:30, and that will take place in the place you were talking about, in the Nature Center's Cooper's
Auditorium.
Glen Auditorium. Yeah,
The one that people are used to going to.
exactly.
Indoors, with
Yeah.
a big open deck
Yes.
for the ice cream. Maybe not this time with Bell's beer as well, but ice cream.
The ice cream is a staple.
And that's a unifier.
Yes,
You
it is.
can't be too stuck up if you've got a tub of ice cream in front
Sure.
of you and you're licking the spoon. Relaxed.
Yes,
That's a good thing about your concerts. They're relaxed.
they are very much so.
People talk to one another while they're waiting
Yeah.
and talk to one another afterwards.
Yeah. It's about community building, I think. You know, it really
Absolutely.
is. Yeah, it's
Absolutely.
important.
Yes.
It's important.
Not us and them.
Right.
No.
Right.
They- Okay, moving right along.
Well, we do have a video clip of this if you want to hear a little.
Oh, yes,
this is the
yes,
ALS
yes,
Quartet.
yes,
Yeah.
Young people again.
Yes.
I see that in the program we talked about last time, next year, 2016, you have the Juilliard String Quartet, which has been around for 30 years or so.
I think it's like 60.
60 years.
Yeah, it's a really long time.
Not the original players, obviously.
Right.
All right.
But yeah, no, this group, the Aeolus Quartet, actually studied with the Juilliard Quartet in addition to a number of other very high-profile, the Miro Quartet as well as the Guarneri Quartet.
So these youngsters have been
They're first rate.
well coached,
Yeah.
yes, and have
Yeah.
got mentors.
Right.
I think it's either a parent who's the mentor or it's another musician.
Sure.
But everybody seems to need a mentor.
Yeah.
I think if you're going to do the hard work, that practice, there has to be some encouragement.
Driven into you in
Driven into you.
one way or another.
Okay. Okay, now tell us, I don't pronounce all these things. Tuesday, July 21st this year,
Yes.
7:30, the Neve Trio?
The Neve Trio, yes.
Neve Trio, Epic Centre, Wellspring Theatre.
Yes.
And there's a Scottish member of this one.
So there's a Scottish member, she's the pianist, and there's a Russian cellist and an American violinist in this piano trio.
There'll never be a Third World War, will there, if
No.
we get people to play
With any luck.
like this?
And Neve is a Gaelic term that means bright or radiant.
Do you know, I didn't know.
Yeah.
I've got Scottish ancestry, but I didn't know that.
Okay.
What was it again? I'll write it down.
Neve means brilliant or radiant. Bright
Brilliant.
or radiant, yeah.
Okay, I'll slip it into conversation sometime at the dinner table. And you've got some video of these?
We do. They're going to be performing a program of Schubert and Dvorak, so the big trios. So that is meat and potatoes there, but
Yes, yes.
terrific music, just wonderful music and great for the summer. And that's, as you said, 7:30 on the 21st, and we do have a clip of them.
Let's have that next clip. And there they are. A good pianist, a Juilliard.
Yes, Juilliard pre-college and then Curtis undergrad.
Yes, so are you biased when you're looking at a group? Do you think,
I would have
that
to say
pianist
so.
is good, so the others must be good? I mean, how do you
Oh,
judge the
no.
quality of the people you...
I guess, I did so much chamber music myself, because that's actually what my undergraduate degree was collaborative piano. And so I can hear the violins and the cellos just as well probably as the piano in terms of what they bring to the table and their quality. And so, yeah. I wouldn't say I judge the piano assuming that the rest of the musicians are going to be good, because that's, well, not often the case.
How about instruments? We must give these people good instruments to play on. I mean, when it comes to a piano, they bring their own cello, they bring their own fiddle or flute.
Exactly, yeah.
They don't bring their own piano.
Yeah, no, so we're extremely lucky, and one of the reasons, the venue for this particular concert is here at the Epic Center in Wellspring Theater, and we're lucky as a community to have the Gilmore International Keyboard Festival housed here. But in addition to that, Fontana's quite lucky to have the Gilmore's piano that we just have to roll down the hall into the Wellspring Theater, and it's a first-rate instrument. It's it was Steinway, and it's terrific. So yeah, no, these artists are playing on first-rate instruments here, anywhere in Kalamazoo really, but certainly here.
Yes, yes. So we have a big elevator here that would carry it up and down. Maybe
We could
next
if we
time we
needed
could
it.
bring the piano in here and
Yeah, that.
give us a tune.
Oh, that.
Steinway piano in this building.
It is, yeah. It's right by my office, actually.
So you
Yeah.
stroll over there when you've got a minute to play and
Sure.
tinkle the out. Oh, well,
Yeah.
well. I keep learning new things about Kalamazoo. Every
Right.
week I learn something new about Kalamazoo.
Right.
We're gifted in so many ways.
We are.
And the Gilmore
He's one of them.
and the Gilmore Foundation and
Oh, my, yes.
good people make sure we've got some
Yeah.
good stuff going on.
Yep.
University City helps,
Yep, it definitely does.
and
And I think just a long tradition of supporting the arts.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
any kind of the arts, whether it be the theater or the symphony or dance, chamber
Yes.
music,
Yes.
keyboard music. You know, it's very, very rich and culturally diverse
Yes.
for a city its size.
we're not allowed by the rules of this public
Sure.
television to talk about prices.
Right.
We mustn't talk about dollars, but I think we should say, here in Kalamazoo,
It's
You can
significantly
hear a
cheaper.
Steinway.
Yes, it's significantly cheaper than you will find in most other cities,
Oh, good Lord above.
even cities of its size.
Yes, available.
Yeah.
You can go online to your website, fontanachamberarts.org,
Yeah.
see all this,
Yeah.
book tickets, and have some change left.
Sure.
It doesn't have to be a once every 2 year event.
No.
These are affordable concerts.
They are.
And students, of course, get a
Five.
real break, don't they?
$5. Yeah. Well, I can't. It's very cheap.
You did it. A real break for students.
Right.
They're all reasonably priced, but for students, wow.
Yeah. No, it's pretty
And
amazing.
again, get them young.
Yep.
Bring quality to the young people and spread the message.
Right.
Well, moving along. That was the Wellspring Theatre here in the Epic Centre in the downtown mall.
Yes.
July 21st, 2:15, 7:30. All available on your website.
They are.
Thursday, July 23rd. This is crammed together, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
Something really
a
going on all
festival,
the
so you
time.
kind of want to keep it really concentrated.
Yes.
You know.
Again, is your expertise
Otherwise,
coming
if
in.
it's too spread out, it doesn't really feel like a
Yes, you
festival.
need to keep the
momentum.
thing moving,
Yeah.
momentum.
Yeah.
Thursday, July 23rd, 2:15, 7:30, Kalamazoo Nature Centre in the auditorium.
Correct.
So people can find that more easily than the barn, perhaps.
Sure.
Indoors, air-conditioned,
Yes.
and the Catalyst Quartet. Catalyst Quartet.
So this is a group that is currently in residence at Oberlin, and they teach as a part of the Sphinx competition, which is a competition based in Detroit that further advances people of color within the classical music world. And they have an annual competition, and these are all laureates and alums of the Sphinx competition that got together. And a terrific group. They can play anything, although they're primarily, I think their main focus is more towards contemporary music. They do a lot of their own arrangements and composing. The program that they'll be performing here includes Charles Ives' First Quartet, which a lot of people hear Ives and think, oh, that's going to be tough to hear. It's a beautiful piece. You'd think it was like almost like a church piece, a hymn. You know, it's an early piece of his, extremely accessible. They'll also be doing a piece by Osvaldo Golioff and Smetana. They're doing one of his quartets, and then they do their own arrangements of some traditional folk songs from around the world. So it should be a very interesting, diverse mix. Some of which you might actually go out humming, not all of it, but you know, it may be, you know, it's just a little more of a challenge.
Yes. Well, but we do need to be
We
stretched.
do need that, yes.
We do need to be stretched.
And we also need to be able to go to something like, and you hear Charles Ives and be like, wow, he is actually really accessible. I didn't know that, you know,
Yes.
he wrote like that.
Yes,
And
yes,
so,
yes.
So that's,
And again, ice cream out on the deck.
there will be.
You know that if you really are stressed out by the first half, you've got a cooler to
You won't be.
get you ready for the next one.
And
So-
we have a little clip of this. too.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's get the clip. maybe it's not something you can hum as you walk out, but there's melody there.
And that's the Golioff piece, actually, that they'll be performing on that program. And so
Yes.
people hear Golioff and they may not necessarily know what they're getting, but that's, you know,
Yes,
pretty beautiful stuff.
It's, you
Quite
absorb
ethereal,
it.
yeah.
You can really relax.
Right.
Yeah. Whew. That's July 23rd, 7:30, Catalyst Quartet, Nature Centre, again in the auditorium.
Yes.
And ice cream and good feelings all around.
Yeah.
Went to the concert with the Bach Festival chorus.
Right.
And the orchestra the other evening in January,
Right.
which is an incredible auditorium, of course.
Yes.
Acoustics are
Yeah, no,
marvelous.
it's wonderful.
Unbelievable. I mean, it was melody, you know. It
Yeah,
was
well, that's Brahms, yeah.
Brahms,
Yeah.
yes. I mean, just beautiful.
Yeah,
You felt somehow enriched the whole evening.
right.
That kind of music that we just heard
Sure.
seeps into you, seeps into you.
Yeah. No, I was happy to hear that they had over 1,000 people there. It was a wonderful turnout and a great community thing
Oh,
to have
yes.
happened. Unfortunately, I was
Yes.
out of town. Otherwise, I definitely would have been there.
Yeah, it was.
But I heard wonderful things about it.
It was just amazing.
Yeah,
And we're blessed in this community.
we are.
And you're one of the blessings. Shouldn't have said that. Saturday, July 25th, 2:15, Williams Theatre Complex, our new venue. Williams Theatre up at
For
Western.
us, yeah. The
Yes.
Gilmore
Yeah.
does a lot of their jazz concerts
Yes,
there, and we
yes.
did a collaboration with the Gilmore at the last festival for Jason Moran there. But I think it's a perfect, venue for.
This is the
jazz.
box where they did Man of La Mancha a few weeks ago.
Yes.
So that's quite a space.
Yeah, I mean, you reconfigure it as sort of a jazz club-esque type of thing, but, with like little
Okay,
tables and
okay,
chairs and all
okay.
of that kind of thing. But
Is there one performance? 7:30?
yes, just the one performance. And
Okay, so Saturday, July 25th, 2:15, at 7:30 in the Williams Theatre Complex up on Western Michigan campus,
Right.
and it's called Occidental Gypsy.
Yes.
Do you come up with these? No, they have their own names.
They tell me what their names are. Yeah, it's a very interesting group. We invited them last summer to our free summer series in the park in Bronson Park, and unfortunately, their concert was the only one that had a rain out. So we wound up in a church, and it just wasn't quite right because they're a gypsy jazz band, and with the aesthetics of a church and whatever, and listening to this music, there was just something incongruous about it. So I wanted to, and we're bringing them back by popular demand. People loved them and went crazy over them. And I think we probably they sold more CDs than any other concert we've ever done. People
That's
were
a good
really
sign.
Yeah.
People want to take the music home with them.
Right,
It worked.
right. So I wanted to give them another shot at it, and this time, not take the risk of a rain out. And so, but I'm looking forward. They're great guys, and they're a lot of fun, and it's a nice way to close the festival because it's a very festive atmosphere type of thing that they do, and that's what they do really well.
Yes. And the older folk will remember the Hot Club of France, probably.
Hot Club of France, and even the
Ja-
Hot Club of
Django.
Detroit. Django, yeah, Reinhardt. And then also the Hot Club of Detroit that we have here that Fontana's brought in a couple of times, which
Okay,
is
that's
of
true.
a similar,
Yes.
very
yes,
similar
yes.
vein.
Okay. You have a clip?
We do.
Let's have it, Bill. Occidental Gypsy,
Yes.
and the guitarist had all his fingers.
That he did, yeah. Unfortunately, poor Django, but he managed just fine.
Oh, yes, he did well. Williams Theatre Complex, Western Michigan University. Not the Miller, but behind the Miller.
Correct.
People will know where it is.
Yeah, sure.
Occidental Gypsy, July 25th, 2:15, 7:30. And if people were rained out last year in the park, it won't
This is
rain
your
in the
chance.
Williams.
Yeah, this is your chance.
This is your chance to get to see them in the dry,
Right,
and in a theatre rather than in a church.
right.
Thursdays in the park.
So this is a collaboration. This is the second year that we're doing this. The Gilmore Foundation has enabled us, so Fontana, the Arts Council of Greater Kalamazoo, and the City of Kalamazoo, the Parks and Recreation Department. The three of us have gone in on a collaboration last year for the first time, presenting Thursday jazz concerts in the park. It used to be called the Third Thursdays, but we decided this year not to limit ourselves to just one day a month that artists could be available,
Yes.
but try for any number of Thursdays, which does make it somewhat easier for me to
Yes, yes.
do.
You need a break occasionally.
Right, and so fortunately, the Gilmore has wanted to fund this again and support us, and all of the partners, the Arts Council as well as the city, were willing and very excited about doing so again. So we'll be doing that, and the first concert takes place on June 25th. And for any of the jazz aficionados out there, they'll certainly know John Pizzarelli. In fact, when Bill and I were talking earlier, back in the studio, he was telling me how he subscribes to his Sirius radio station or one of his Pandora stations or whatever. He's a terrific guitarist and vocalist, very much in the vein. I think his sort of inspiration comes more from the kind of Frank Sinatra, Nat King Cole, but he doesn't sound like them. He has very much his own sound, and his dad's a musician, his wife is a musician, his kids are musicians. They're a very musical family, and it's just some really cool jazz going on, and I think he'll draw quite a bit out to the park. These are free concerts, as I mentioned. We're really lucky to have someone on his level for free. And this particular concert that he's doing is, he's on tour in the Midwest at the time, and he's promoting a new CD that he's just recorded, mostly inspired by songs of Paul McCartney. So.
I'm going back now to, 30 years ago we arrived.
Right.
And I was working in Belgium for Upjohn.
Right.
And had an MD on the staff,
Okay.
who said, well, there's an English pub, here in Brussels, right by the Bellemont building. I'll buy you a pint before you leave for Kalamazoo. So he took me in, and he went into this English pub inside the Bellemont building, by the Bellemont building. And he said to the girl behind the counter, Maisie, whatever her name was, I want a big pint of bitter for Keith Roe here. He's going to America. And she said, oh, where? I said, oh, you'll never have heard about it. A place called Kalamazoo. And she said, oh, I know Kalamazoo. My father did those bronze statues outside the Art Museum and in Bronson Park.
So she was Italian, I guess. Because he was Italian, you know him.
Yeah, she knew all about Kalamazoo. Maybe she was born here. It's a small world.
Yes.
So I heard about Bronson Park before I got here.
Wow.
And it is a good centre. It's an interesting place to be.
Yeah.
There's some shade if it's a hot day
Yep.
under the trees. And good. Free. Free concert thanks to Gilmore.
Yes, the Gilmore
And
Foundation.
the Gilmore
and then just
Foundation.
the collaboration between these
John
three organizations.
Pizzarelli,
Yes.
Bronson Park, guitar and vocals.
Yes.
Free. No ice cream.
No.
No.
It would be a bit rough, depending upon what the weather was like, to
Okay.
keep the ice cream
All right.
from melting.
Moving right along.
That's it. We do have a clip of that. That is,
Oh, have we?
and that is at
Good.
6 p.m. So if you want to hear it,
Yeah,
just a
please,
little bit.
Bill.
Yeah.
Flagstaff, Arizona, I don't forget Winona, Boston, San Bernardino. get into this town, let it. When you make that California trip, I said, did you get on Route 66?
You know how to find them.
It'll be fun. He's a great musician.
Yes. And approachable.
Yes.
I mean, he's got a new CD, you say?
Yes, it's a new CD inspired by the songs written by Paul McCartney.
So
But it's a jazz take, obviously.
they'll be
on-
there
on
in the
those.
park, and he'll be signing them probably. and
Yes, I'm sure.
People are approachable. I mean, after your concerts, the artists mingle, don't they, with
Yes, after
the
almost
audience?
every single concert we have a little wine and cheese reception. This is during the winter season.
Yes.
A little wine and cheese reception, and the artists come out and sign CDs and stand there for photos and have conversations, and they're very, very approachable and accessible.
Yes, yes. And again, it puts a human face on it.
Yeah.
We play an awful lot of stuff on our headphones and
iPods and
iPods
everything
and
else,
all
right?
those things.
Sure.
You can turn on the radio at any time of the day or night and pick up all kinds of music.
Sure.
They're in pretty good quality if you've got decent equipment,
Mhm.
but it's not the same
As a live.
as a live performance.
Yeah.
I've said it before, maybe on this program several times. You can influence the quality of the performance from the audience side. If you're showing your appreciation,
Absolutely. Yeah.
if you're listening carefully, or you're cheering, or you're swinging along, the artist must think this is
They
a good
feel that
crowd.
energy on the
They
stage.
feel
It
it.
comes back to them, and they can
Yes.
also feel the opposite too. If
Yes.
you're falling asleep, and they feel that too. So
Yes, but it won't happen.
No,
it won't
not
happen.
here, no.
Not with somebody like that, at least.
yeah, no.
So that was Bronson Park. Did we talk about the time? 6 o'clock in
Yes.
the evening.
Yeah.
So we'll be cooling down a little bit
Yep.
by 6. June 25th, Thursday, June 25th, 6 p.m. John Pizzarelli, extreme guitar, vocals, new CD,
Yeah.
approachable, Bronson Park, free.
Yes.
Free. Nothing quite like free as a
No.
sales pitch. More to come?
Yes. So we'll have these Thursdays, one in June, one in July, and one in August.
That's right. These are Thursdays in the park.
Correct.
Okay.
And so the next one is July 30th, and this is Nat Zagree, who is the late Steve Zagree, who was the head of the Gold Company for many,
Oh,
many
yes,
years
yes,
here.
yes, yes.
Very, very well loved in this community. This is sort of a homecoming for Nat. He had left when Steve left to go to Indiana. Nat had moved there as well. Now currently lives in New York City, where he's really starting to make a name for himself, playing at some very prestigious clubs, and he's a pianist as well as a vocalist.
Yes.
Terrific energy. I think I unfortunately did not have the honor of meeting Steve, but from everything that I've heard from people, very much a chip off the old block with the same kind of energy and passion and
Yes.
talent and
Yes,
enthusiasm.
yes, yes, yes.
So I'm really looking forward to having Nat, come home. He was recently here a couple of weeks ago. There was a memorial service at Miller Auditorium
Right,
for his
right.
father, and he performed at that. But I think this will be a little more of a, obviously a happier occasion for him,
Yes.
that he can
Yes.
come back and really give what he has to give.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah, I think the Gold Company was the first performance we actually heard when we got to Kalamazoo
really?
in
Okay.
1980.
Yeah, they're
And-
terrific.
Oh.
They really are first rate.
And what dawned on myself and my wife and other people
Right.
who went there was you have to be a musician
Right.
to sing that kind of
Sure.
music.
Right.
It's precise. It's not random.
No.
And you watch Steve at the piano, but
Right.
it isn't a free-for-all. It's every little thing has been practiced,
Yeah,
practiced,
Fine tuned and honed.
fine-tuned. It's
Yeah.
a serious study,
It
jazz.
is. It is.
It isn't just you strum a few notes and warble,
No.
and you can. Well, maybe you can't. I was just thinking, you play this one evening on the stage in Chenery, and then you do the same thing. My guess is it's the same performance after performance, but I could be wrong.
No, I think it gets changed up a bit. I mean, there
It's
are
choreographed.
elements of it
Yes.
that are very much choreographed and very much line by line. But you have all of these different solos going
come
in here
forward
and all of
and
that,
do their
and
own
they're going
thing.
to do it differently every time.
Yes.
Or try to
Yes.
mix it up, and you have to respond to that, as an ensemble.
Yes.
But I understand what you're saying. I mean, especially like the choreography.
Yes. Oh, that's-
physical choreography
Yes,
is not
yes,
going
yes.
to, unless you're talking about being in a huge space versus being in a really tiny space. And
And these people were getting a degree.
yes,
They're not just a sing-along group. They're
No,
working on
they are
a degree that'll
They're
get
serious
them.
in musical theater.
I think he put Kalamazoo on the map again, Steve's
I
degree.
understand. Yeah, he was really, really exceptionally talented.
Yes, yes, and Gold Company too,
Yes.
of course. They kind of graduated from Gold Company too because people leave. That's the other thing
Yep.
that amazes me. Every year they lose probably
However,
a quarter
many,
of
yeah,
their,
exactly.
their
So
people.
at least
who
you have that feeder company
graduate.
now that can move into
Yes,
those
yes,
roles.
yes.
Yeah.
Discipline, young people
Yeah, and extremely talented.
can reach high standards.
Yeah.
That's an inspiration to young people.
Yeah.
So hopefully people will take young people with them, adults will take kids with them to Bronson Park, Thursday, July 30th, 6 p.m., another free Thursday in the park.
Yes. And we have a clip of Nat. If you
I
want
have a
to
clip.
hear.
Let's have the
Yeah,
clip.
Sure.
That's
Alarm goes off, open up my eyes, take a glance out the window, out the sunrise, getting out of my bed, which I do despise, but despite my cries, I always realize I got so much to get done today, so I keep all the negative thoughts at bay, cause there ain't much color in black and gray, but you know what they say, there's a will, there's a way, and I believe in hoping for the best, and I believe that negativity is a test of how you choose to go about your life. Will you stay in bed till you wake up dead, or will you let go of your strife? Oh, love each day you're given, live each day you've got. Don't let fear and madness bring you sadness, that's a lesson I've been taught. Just keep your head up, keep on walking tall. Open up your mind and you might find that you can fly more than you fall.
One more.
one more to go. One more free Thursday in the
Yes.
park, thanks to the Gilmore Foundation.
Yes.
Thursday, August 27th, 6 p.m., Bronson Park, the Herlin Riley Quintet. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yes. Herlin Riley. He's a musician from New Orleans. I first got to know him when I managed Wynton Marsalis and the Lincoln Center Jazz Orchestra over in Europe. I used to do their European touring. And at the time, Herlin was the drummer for the band, had a long association with Wynton, very much of the same vein in many ways, in terms of their schooling and their background from New Orleans and that sound. And Herlin is his own man, you know, he has his own thing going on. But just an amazing musician, and he just floored me every night on tour, you know, when he had his drum solos. And so he has his own quintet. They've recently just also recorded a record together, which I don't believe will be out by August, but at any rate, he's got a terrific quartet going on. He's a lovely man, and just an incredible musician.
And he's still the drummer.
He is. He's the drummer, but now of his own band. He's not in Wynton's band anymore. I mean, they still work together a lot, and he still continues to collaborate with a lot of the musicians from Jazz at Lincoln Center. But he left New York City and moved back to New Orleans. Actually, he left right around the time of Katrina, and I know that they got wiped out, and but they've rebuilt, and they're doing well.
Keep it going.
Yeah.
I have to say, the closing Marcellus, father and brother.
Yes, so Delfio and Ellis. Ellis is the father.
It was an amazing evening.
It was a lot of fun.
Absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Young, old.
Yeah, it was sold out.
Young fellow came up from the audience and
Two.
Yep. Yes.
Two young Western musicians.
It was bouncing. It really was.
Yeah.
New Orleans jazz.
Yeah.
Here in Kalamazoo, with the Marcellus family, a drummer then who was incredible.
Terrific. Yeah, he's amazing.
And let a young kid
The whole
have
band.
his drums for a while.
Yeah.
It was very special evening.
It
And
was.
people hung around at the reception.
Yes.
I didn't think people wanted to go home. Everybody was.
Yeah, no, it's 10 o'clock, and they're still
Yes.
hanging around for an hour and a half
Yes.
afterwards. And
Yes.
the Marcelluses were so good to stay there the whole
Yes.
time and talk with people and sign CDs, take pictures, whatever. But that afternoon, before they performed that, we had bussed in 500 kids, 4th and 5th graders, into Dalton, and they gave a special kids performance for them that day. And these kids were a riot. I mean, they brought them up on stage. He'd have a dozen kids on stage dancing and interpreting music that they were performing, and those kids just went wild over it. And actually, the head of the Gilmore Foundation said to me, the great thing about that is he just taught everyone in this audience that jazz is cool. And these are little kids, just
Yes,
4th graders,
yes,
and
yes.
He was right. It was
Catch
really
them
amazing.
young. Get them
That's
young.
right. That's right.
I mean, young kids, they've got a sense of rhythm. They can pick it up.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And you did it.
So Herlin Riley Quintet Thursday is August 27th at 6 p.m. in Bronson Park, and it is the last of our free Thursday in the Park concerts.
And you've got a clip of that?
We do.
If we have it, it'll probably play us out. We've got a couple of minutes.